Okay, let's jump right into this explainer. Have you ever actually stopped to wonder why a massive 70% of our life-saving antibiotics come directly from the dirt right beneath our feet? Today, we're going to uncover the secret, bustling universe hiding right under our shoes. You know, when most of us look down at the ground, we just see inert matter, right? Just mud and dust. But the reality is that our very existence, and specifically our medical survival, is fundamentally tied to the health of the soil. So, we'll be exploring the profound significance of the soil microbiome, the massive challenges it's currently facing globally, and the absolutely cutting-edge solutions scientists are deploying to save it.
70%. That is a staggering number, and it represents a vital, literal connection between the ground we walk on and human survival. It turns out that the vast majority of the medicines we rely on every single day to fight off infections, they don't start in some sterile test tube. They start in the dirt.
So, we really have to ask ourselves, where exactly are these life-saving antibiotics coming from? When we think of modern medicine, we usually picture pristine, white-walled laboratories in synthetic chemistry. But the truth is, to find the source of our most powerful medical interventions, we should actually be looking at the mud in our own backyards.
The crucial takeaway here is that soil isn't just dead dirt, it's a living, breathing mini-city that literally keeps us healthy. This is the soil microbiome. We're talking about a highly complex community of microscopic organisms, fungi, viruses, and bacteria. In fact, specific soil bacteria, like streptomyces, produce between a staggering 70 to 80% of all the clinical antibiotics we use today. These microbes are constantly competing for space and resources by producing compounds that kill other bacteria. And honestly, we've just learned how to harness those natural weapons for human medicine.
To put that into perspective, think about a single grain of sand. That tiny grain brilliantly illustrates the sheer scale of life happening at the microscopic level. On it, you can find thousands of bacterial cells interacting, sharing genetic material, and releasing nutrients. This microscopic activity is the absolute foundation of the global carbon cycle and plant growth. They act as the Earth's recycling center, breaking down organic matter and deciding whether carbon is safely stored in the ground or released up into the atmosphere. But what happens when the dirt actually dies? We need to ask ourselves this urgent question, because right now we are facing a massive existential threat known as desertification. When the soil microbiome collapses, whether that's due to environmental changes or physical disturbance, fertile lands completely lose their ability to support plant, animal, and human life. The mini-city collapses, and the dirt becomes truly, irreversibly dead.
65%. That is the alarming amount of arable land in sub-Saharan Africa that is currently degraded. Agriculture is the backbone of this region, contributing about 23% of the GDP and employing 60% of the population. But unsustainable land use practices are stripping the life out of the soil at a terrifying rate.
The data paints a picture of a massive, multifaceted crisis. Across sub-Saharan Africa, 77% of the land is dealing with serious soil erosion. In places like Malawi, they're losing 30 tons of soil per hectare every single year. We're also seeing severe nutrient depletion, with soil organic carbon dropping below 1.5%. And driving all of this is a catastrophic loss of soil biodiversity caused by deforestation, compaction, and overgrazing. We are systematically destroying the very foundation of agriculture.
And the real-world impact of this degradation is staggering. Annual soil nutrient losses are costing the region roughly $4 billion. But more importantly, it's directly threatening the nutritional security of hundreds of millions of people. And this is happening at a time when Africa's population is expected to increase 2.5 times by the year 2050, meaning cereal demand is going to triple. We simply cannot feed tomorrow's population with today's dying soil.
But here is where the science gets incredibly exciting. Researchers are now realizing that microbes can actually act as an early warning system. Because these microbes react to environmental changes, like shifts in moisture and temperature, way faster than plants or animals do, they can predict desertification before the plants even start to die. By studying the microbiome, we can spot an ecosystem approaching a tipping point way before the visible damage is done. To figure this out and put it into practice, scientists launched the African Soil Microbiology Project, or ASFEM. They're undertaking an unprecedented mission to map the microbial communities across 15% of sub-Saharan Africa. It's basically a giant detective operation. They're collecting 1,000 soil samples across partner nations, extracting the DNA, sequencing a specific gene called 16SR DNA, and then analyzing the matches to identify exactly what's living down there.
Through this massive biogeographical survey of 810 sites across 9 nations, researchers discovered that the soil microbiome is primarily shaped by soil pH, precipitation, and temperature. By tracking how these invisible communities respond, scientists have actually built models to predict how climate change will affect soil productivity. For instance, the data shows Kenya's soil microbial biodiversity will be negatively impacted by increased warming, whereas fungal biodiversity in Benin might actually benefit from more precipitation. It's a vital, global early warning system for vulnerable landscapes.
So, what can we do on the ground right now to protect this biodiversity? Well, agricultural practices make a huge difference. When you look at heavily plowed soil, it leads to erratic water infiltration, compaction, and really high evaporation. But using practices like conservation agriculture, which minimizes soil disturbance and keeps a permanent cover, drastically increases microbial biomass. You get continuous pathways for water to travel, better soil structure, and a massive increase in soil moisture retention. It's a night and day difference.
Now, while conservation is great for protecting the soil we still have, what about land that has already been lost to the desert? Well, scientists in China have discovered a revolutionary way to actively rebuild dead soil using the Earth's original terraformers. Instead of just trying to plant trees in the sand, they're looking much, much smaller.
The key lies in cyanobacteria. These are sunlight-powered pioneer bacteria that thrive in blistering heat and direct sunlight where most plants would just instantly wither. When they sense even a tiny hint of moisture, they ooze these sticky sugars called polysaccharides. This substance acts exactly like a biological glue, binding loose, shifting sand grains into a cohesive, stable, living web. It's totally brilliant.
And this isn't just a theory either. It's the result of a landmark 59-year field experiment at the Shapotou Desert Research Station in China. Decades of relentless research have proven that we can actually force the desert to retreat. The logic is simple but profound. You fix the soil first. Create a stable crust so the wind can't rip the ground apart, and native grasses will eventually take root entirely on their own.
The results here are absolutely mind-blowing. Out in the wild, natural biological soil crusts take about 15 years to form on their own. But by seeding the sand with these specific bacteria, we create induced crusts that stabilize in just 1 to 2 years. We can literally compress 15 years of natural ecological recovery into a single season.
To deploy this at scale, researchers developed portable, solid seeds of cyanobacteria mixed with organic matter. Because they're dry, they can be easily scattered by hand or even by drone across remote dunes. A single rainfall activates the dormant microbes, setting that biological glue. This process rapidly restores carbon and nitrogen to the ecosystem, acting like a biological beacon that invites other species back. In fact, over the next 5 years, China plans to use this exact method to rehabilitate nearly 6,600 hectares of desert.
I really love this quote from Charles E. Kellogg because it perfectly summarizes everything we've covered today. Essentially, all life depends on the soil. They have evolved together. Our modern existence, our food, and yes, even our life-saving medicines are permanently tied to the health of the dirt beneath our feet.
So the ultimate takeaway from this explainer is clear. Healthy soil equals a healthy planet and healthy people. By mapping the soil microbiome, we're creating a vital early warning system for vulnerable regions. And by harnessing ancient microbes like cyanobacteria, we have a revolutionary, active cure for desertification. To solve massive global issues like climate change and food security, we first have to save the microscopic world. Which kind of begs the question, if unlocking the secrets of the dirt can save our planet, what other invisible worlds are just waiting to be explored?
If you found this update helpful, please hit the like button and share this video with fellow members. For more deep dives into the latest environmental regulations and industrial news, subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications. See you in the next one.